It can feel sharp right at the beginning. That moment when interest is there, unmistakable, almost undeniable. The way they lean in, reach out, show up with warmth that feels intentional. You may notice how quickly your body registers it, how easily your heart responds. And then, just as quietly, there's distance, a pause, a pullback that wasn't announced. It can feel disorienting to hold both at once, the closeness that felt real, and the space that suddenly appears without explanation. You're not imagining the shift, you're noticing it. There's a strange rhythm to this kind of connection. One step closer, just enough to stir hope. 2 steps back, just enough to leave you steadying yourself again. You may feel drawn toward the moments when they're present, attentive, engaged. And at the same time, there's an awareness of how quickly that presence can thin out. It can feel like your system is constantly adjusting, recalibrating to their nearness and their absence. Wanting to trust what feels genuine, while also quietly tracking how often you're left waiting. You might notice yourself holding back questions, not because they aren't there, but because you don't want to disturb the closeness when it appears. There can be a carefulness in how you show up, a softness that tries not to ask for too much. Part of you may hope that if you stay steady enough, patient enough, the pulling away will stop. Another part may already sense that this back and forth has its own momentum, one that doesn't seem to settle, no matter how understanding you are. Both parts can exist without canceling each other out. At times, the doubt doesn't sound harsh. It sounds quiet, gentle. It shows up as small, inward questions. Am I reading this correctly? Am I asking for something that isn't available? Did I misunderstand what that closeness meant? You may notice how often you replay interactions, not to judge yourself, but to reassure yourself that what you felt was real, that the interest wasn't imagined, that the warmth you received wasn't something you made up. There's tenderness in that self-checking, even when it feels tiring. The pulling away can leave a particular kind of ache, not dramatic, not loud, just persistent. You may notice how it lingers after conversations end, or in the spaces where you expected more continuity. It's the ache of being partially met, of sensing that something could deepen, while also recognizing how often it doesn't. You might feel grateful for the moments of connection, while also feeling worn down by their inconsistency. That combination can be confusing, but it makes sense. It's hard to relax when closeness doesn't stay long enough to rest in. Sometimes you may notice how much emotional space they occupy, even when they aren't actively present. How your thoughts drift back to them without effort. How your mood subtly lifts when they reach out, and subtly drops when they don't. Not because you've decided it should, but because connection does that. Especially unfinished connection. Especially connection that keeps opening a door and then leaving it slightly ajar. There's nothing dramatic about this. It's just how attachment quietly weaves itself into daily moments. There doesn't have to be clarity here. No final understanding. No decision forming in the background. The interest was real. The pulling away is real too. You don't have to reconcile them into a single story. You can let the contradiction remain. You can allow yourself to acknowledge how it felt to be drawn in and how it feels to be left in the in-between. This space doesn't require you to interpret their behavior or make it mean something definitive. It only asks that your experience be allowed to exist. You may notice how much energy it takes to stay emotionally available in this kind of dynamic. How often you prepare yourself for closeness and then quietly absorb the distance when it comes. How you keep a part of yourself open, even when you're unsure if it will be met again. That holding takes effort, even when no one names it, even when it goes unseen. There's nothing small about continuing to feel in a space that feels uncertain. For now, there's room to rest right here, with the interest that touched you, with the pulling away that unsettled you, with the part of you that hoped, and the part that noticed the pattern. Nothing needs to be solved in this moment. If it feels okay, you can stay with yourself here a little longer.